It's time to say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting edition of the program ASHFORD GARLEY Live. On this beautiful Wednesday afternoon, as we come to you from Detroit, downtown Detroit, Michigan. It feels great to be back home, and it is about 71 degrees in Detroit. What a way to come back home today. And please share the video. So please don't be selfish. Invite a few friends. Get the popcorn rolling so that we can all have a great time this afternoon. We have a very powerful guest. Mr. Martin K. KOLLIE is our special guest this afternoon. We're live on Super FM 95.5 in Monrovia. We're also live on Super Television Channel 10. We're live on Live FM 104.1 in Monrovia as well. Folks, I'm telling you, your voices have been heard now, not only in the diaspora, but in other parts of the world as well, including Liberia. Let me begin the program today by telling you about the 6 ways to make people like you. And I got this from a book I read called How to Win Friends and Influence People by the guy called Dale Carnegie from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 6 ways to make people like you. Number 1, become genuinely interested in other people. People that care about you, you should care about them as well. Become genuinely interested in other people. Number 2, smile. You can't own a supermarket and every day you frown in your face. You can't be selling Coke and every day you frown in your face. You got to put a smile on your face. Smile says it all. Number 3, remember that the person's name is the most important sound in any language. The name to that person is the most important sound in any language. Let me give you an example. I was at a local convenience store the other day, and I was looking for something. I couldn't find the stuff I was looking for, and I met one of the attendants. His name was Joseph. I said, hey, Joseph, how you doing? He immediately stopped what he was doing and gave me his full attention. When I told him what I wanted, he took me to that location and made sure I found what I needed. So calling people by their name, it makes them feel good. It makes them feel that you know them forever. Then we went to McDonald's after I picked up my son from a football practice. He said he wanted to eat some McDonald's. So when we got going through the drive-thru, we got to the window. Look what Vicky. I said, Vicky, how you doing? And Vicky said, can you please pull over? I want to give you I want to make sure your fry is hot. And besides, I want to give you an extra fry. That's how important it is to call people by their name. Try it, and you will see what exactly what I'm talking about. Number 4, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. It should not always be about you. Encourage other people to talk about themselves as well. Sometimes you've got to take time out and be interested in other people. Sit back some time and listen to other people's plight. The conversation becomes boring if you just want to do all the talking and you can't give others the chance to talk. So you have to be a good listener and encourage others to talk about themselves as well. Number 5, talk in terms of the other person's interests. And it should not always be about you again. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. For example, I want to go to the mall. And Joseph Brown here wants to go to the Secretary of State because he has to renew his license. And I said to Joseph, listen, why don't we go and do your license first? Then we can go to the mall. With that, you balance the story. When you apply for a job, you do your research, look for some good things about the company, and say those things at the interview. At the end of the interview, you can say to the interviewer, we are going to make this work, seeking the mutual benefits for the company and myself. So you're not talking about yourself alone. You're talking about both you and the company. Don't be selfish. It shouldn't always be about you. Take others into account when you do these things. Number 5, make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. I repeat, make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Some of you are sycophants. Some of you are hypocrites. Because you want something from this person, you just praise them. Even if they don't deserve the praise, even if you want laugh, you just laugh. Oh, yeah, the giant, the golden voice, my man. You don't play today. Oh, yeah. Let me get smart now. Don't do that. Don't be a sycophant. Don't be a hypocrite. Be sincere. Be sincere to yourself and sincere to others. With that said, folks, tough times don't last. Tough people do. The heart of a man is never known until he rises. And there's no second chance to make that first impression. Don't see okra and swallow bone, because you can't hide your nakedness from beef and bucket. When God bless you, don't see that medicine. But when men know you from black man. This is the brother who doesn't eat iron. But he's definitely stronger than the lion. That's why they call him the medicine of the microphone, the golden voice of Liberia. ASHFORD the giant, the Nayinobin Garley. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. time to give it up for Unbreakable Hawa. She said, good afternoon from my end. Saba Rachel Saba, it's been a long time, man. You know, he said, great to watch you on the fourth afternoon. On the fourth afternoon, I beg your pardon. And Smith got with us saying the giant. I see Nabad, Masikwa, Carpenter. Nabad, I've not seen you for a while. What's going on? I also see Mr. Carpenter. Sam Coloback, Tracy Wilson. It's been a long time, huh? Florence Goffin. And Fraser is also in the building. I see Makre A. Mapu Dawson. Right. Hope you all are having a great time this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I want to take time out to introduce our special guest. And he's an advocate, economist, very tough talking. And, you know, Martin KOLLIE has been in the business for a long time. And we asked him to appear this afternoon for us to have a conversation with a lot of interesting things that go on in the country. And just so you know, this afternoon, the views and opinions expressed on the show today by Mr. KOLLIE are his. And eventually, when people start to call their views are solely theirs and not British Radio Africa, just so you know. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I introduce to you Mr. Martin K. and KOLLIE. Martin, good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, ASHFORD, and I appreciate the invite. Thanks for the new development. Bridge Radio Africa is taking over, I can see.
Well, traditionally, Martin, I want you to take the first couple of minutes and give us your opening statement. Perhaps there are some folks who heard the name, they don't know what you are about. So just take the first 2 minutes to fill us in as to who you are.
Thank you, ASHFORD. Martin K. and KOLLIE is a native-born Liberian, born in Monrovia, but he hails from central Liberia, specifically Bon County. Martin is spelled by tribe. Martin has been involved with advocacy, activism for the last 15 years. You know, as an activist, I served as student leader of the University of Liberia. I rose from the position of Secretary General and Chairman on Press and Propaganda of the largest student-based movement in the history of the country to stand-up bearer, and later became student leader of the students at the University of Liberia. I still remain who I am. You know, I am passionate about a new Liberia. I want to see a new dawn in our country. This is why we continue to pursue the ultimate interest of our people, because the interest of the people remains supreme, ASHFORD. I fled the country in December of last year due to consistent attack on my person by Turkish elements of the regime. The regime saw me as a threat, so they tried to repress and suppress my voice. However, they have not succeeded, because even while in exile, I remain even more critical, and you are a witness, you know. So I just want to say to our people back home, or in our loss, in the midst of these contradictions and tragedies, we will continue to stand in their defense. This is an inherited responsibility, ASHFORD. We cannot neglect this responsibility to protect the image and sovereignty of Africa's first republic. So we are on this journey together. We're going to show our people that this is a process we are committed to. Until Liberians and Liberia are liberated, we remain unabated in this pursuit. Thank you, ASHFORD, for the opportunity once more to appear on this widely monitored platform.
Mr. KOLLIE, let us begin the conversation by talking about governance and public accountability. What do you know?
You know, the debate on public accountability is not only unique to Liberia, but it transcends across 55 independent states in Africa. In fact, it is the bedrock for good governance, public accountability. If those who call themselves leader, ASHFORD, are not accountable to the public, then the question is, who are they accountable to? Let's go back to Liberia, ASHFORD. In 2017, our people decided to elect a new president, a new vice president, along with 103 lawmakers that we often describe as representatives and senators. The intent for preferring those group of individuals or Liberians was to serve their interest, as for, and not to serve the interest of those elected. 3 years down the road, where are we? Where is public accountability? Where is transparency? Where is good governance? Where is the rule of law? Where is public property in the context of decentralization and deconcentration? It will interest you to know, ASHFORD GARLEY, that the CDC-led government has not only neglected the people, but has disappointed the people. Yes, why? Number one, since 2018, the budgetary appropriation of anti-graft institutions has been shifting downward. The WIA-led government has been reducing the budgetary appropriations of the LACC, the GAC, the Internal Audit Authority, the FIU, Financial Intelligence Unit, LETI, PPCC, Public Procurement Concession Commission, Good Governance Commission, and all other public institutions and autonomous agencies that are responsible to uphold public accountability and transparency. And there's a motive for that. There is an ulterior motive for that, ASHFORD. The motive is to strangulate those institutions so that we are, along with his bandwagon of economic vampires, loot the country. What is going on now, ASHFORD, is far beyond corruption. In my opinion, it is called looting on an industrious scale. That is what is going on right now in Liberia. Reference is made to the missing 16 billion. Reference is made to the US 25 million that is yet to be accounted for by the head of the economic management team, the EMT, Samuel Twer. He is yet to account for US 25 million that was intended for the mopping up of excess liquidity of Liberian dollars from the market. The latest is the 30 million United States dollars that we borrowed from the International Monetary Fund for their quote-unquote stimulus package full aid. Look at the situation with the NHA, National Housing Authority. Look at the tender that took place. We forfeited thousands of housing units as a result of that corruption scandal. We scared the investors away. Look at the situation at the Ministry of Finance. The World Bank, 3.2 million. Look at the situation at Maritime. You know, there's corruption everywhere. The CDC-led government, ASHFORD, is inherently corrupt. You do not need an alchemist or a rocket scientist to tell you the extent at which corruption is eating up the fabric of our nation, especially under the CDC-led government of President George Manneh. I can cite a number of instances, and those instances are validated by audit reports from the General Auditing Commission, from the Internal Audit Authority. The reports are available. I have been releasing some of those reports as well. So what we are seeing now is far beyond a national tragedy. Our people are being deprived basic social services because of corruption and economic sabotage under the CDC-led government.
No.
These are harsh realities. These are harsh realities undermining the progressive nature of the Liberian population. And for us who are activists and advocates, We will not remain mute or silent about these issues that matter. We will continue to flag them. We'll continue to engage policymakers about their missteps and mishaps. Because at the end of the day, Ashford, do you know who are victimized? The people. The people are victimized as a result of bad governance and leadership breakdown. Once again, after 173 years, this is where we are, on a journey to nowhere. On a journey to nowhere.
It's good to call out the administration of the government when you sense acts of irresponsibility and incompetence. Now, what do you then do besides just criticism? How do we find solution to this problem, Martin?
Thank you, Ashford. I have always said Martin K. and KOLLIE is not interested in just criticizing every other government that comes. I did what I'm doing now under the administration of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The records are there. However, I have also been proposing short-term solutions, medium-term solutions, as well as long-term solutions. If the we are left government can just listen to some of us, we will be able to find concrete, not cosmetic, concrete solution to the prevailing economic malaise.
Is it true that you were offered a position, an assistant minister position, and you turned it down? Is that true?
Oh, certainly, yes. And I still have the I still have the written document.
So are you double speaking? You say if they believe in some of you people, don't you think the way out of the field is getting in the field? If one person can go in there and make a difference, don't you think others will follow?
Firstly, look at the government itself, Ashford, in terms of structure, in terms of anatomy. Look at the morphology of the government. Does this government really listen, Ashford? You are one of the critical voices in the Liberian community. Tell me whether this government listens. Does this government really listen, Ashford? Let's be frank and fair. Let's be honest. If this government can listen, Ashford, they will accept some of the suggestions and recommendations we have been making. I give you an instance. Before President Weah could come to power, right? In fact, the first activist to have written President Weah was me. And why did I write him? The first article President Weah ever read after his inauguration was an article from my pen. And I was telling the president how to jumpstart his government, how to start his government on the pillow of anti-corruption crusade. And I even suggested some names for consideration in this fight against corruption. I told the president a number of things to do immediately after inauguration. The president could not listen. And one of those things I told him after was to declare his assets. Declaration of assets. The president did not listen until July, when I led another protest for the president and other public officials to declare their assets. He later declared his assets after the protest was held on July 26. It was on the 27th the president declared his assets secretly. I want to add this word secretly because nobody knows the net worth of the president's assets up to now. Let's be frank here, Ashford. The fight against corruption begins with the declaration of assets. The president has got a lot to learn from his counterpart in Sierra Leone, Mada Bio. It was on the day of inauguration that Mada Bio declared his assets. The records are there. You know, do you know the message he was sending out, Ashford? He was telling the Sierra Leonean people in the world that assets declaration is the basis for the fight against public corruption. As I, the president of Sierra Leone, appointees, political appointees are on a moral, political obligation to declare your assets. Unfortunately, the reverse is the reality in Liberia. The president had to be pressured. We had to have protests in Liberia before the president declared his assets at the GAC through a fiasco process. So I am saying, Ashford, when it comes to public accountability, when it comes to transparency, when it comes to probity, when it comes to integrity, the CDC-led government is a direct opposite of these democratic values and ingredients,
What the
which are
government,
critical to development and prosperity.
what the government countered in the past, when you, including me, when we said 25 million mop-up exercise, they said no, it's not 25 million. When we say 16 billion, they said no, that's not 16 billion. And besides, there have been countless the amount of protests. Nothing is happening. How do we get this government and this president to listen? Martin?
This brings me to borrow a famous quotation from a Turkish poet and thinker. His name is Mehmet Murat Adan. This is what he said, Ashford. Governments stand because people sit, but if people stand, governments will sit. I repeat, Mehmet Murat, a Turkish thinker or poet, he said, governments around the world stand because people sit. If people stand, governments will sit. Now, let me tell you, Ashford, everywhere in Africa or elsewhere, the people are taking matter into their hands, not through bloodletting, but through mass peaceful protests. Yes, we have had several protests. We have had several agitations, but this government has demonstrated ruthlessness in terms of addressing the legitimate concerns of peaceful Liberian protesters. So the question is, what can we do right now? And all of our protests have been centralized, Ashford. All of the protests have been centralized just in the cycle of Monrovia, in the cycle square of Monrovia, between the Capitol building and the Executive Mansion, where all the protests have been held. So the government has successfully contained protesters. The government has successfully been able to quarantine protesters. But what I'm suggesting going forward, Ashford, and this goes to all Liberians, whether you are in Liberia or all of Liberia, what we need now to send a clarion call or to send a clarion caveat to the government of Liberia is a massive nationwide protest that is held simultaneously. I give you an example. Whilst protest is taking place in Monserrado, specifically Monrovia, the commercial capital, protest is also taking place in Ganta. Protest is also taking place in Saninkol. Protest is also taking place in Bikana. Protest is also taking place in Tottenham, in Bopolu. Protest is also taking place in Greenville, Fishtown, Zwedru. Protest is also taking place in Ramaspos, Habel. Protest is also taking place in Kakata. Protest is also taking place in Banga. And all of the county capitals. This is the only way we can send a stronger caveat to the CDC-led government. Because you see the CDC-led government, Ashford, the government is intransigent. The government is intransigent. The government is adamant. Because this is what a dictator does. A dictator is always adamant. A dictator does not believe in the rule of law. A dictator does not believe in the ultimate interest of the people. A dictator does not think that all power belongs to the people. So it is only the people who can stand up, which is guaranteed in our Constitution, Article 1.
But it is one thing to call for a protest, and the citizens that you are calling to be a part of the protest, they need protection. Protection in the sense that if the CPP claims that they can unseat George Weah in the first round, why are they not taking the lead in terms of the protests that you are suggesting? In other serious countries, the people don't tell you say they're hungry. They pack their bagpipe and they go to stay there for days until they get answers. But in the case of our country, you go out in the street to protest, By 4:35, they say they're hungry, they want to drink, they're thirsty. And the next thing you know, you see the crowd start to go home. So how serious can you be? Your suggestion might mean well, but who will listen? Now, take this or leave it. The people that there are people in Liberia that still feel that this president is doing well, despite all the irresponsibility, the lack of governance, the lack of competent people in the government. They still feel that he's doing well, and they still feel that he's the best. So how do you get the people to listen to you?
Thank you, Ashford, and these are important questions. You know, the first thing I want to say, popularity diminishes. Popularity diminishes. The president came to power, quote unquote, as a popular president. Quote unquote, as a popular president. That's what seditionists usually say. But I can tell you for a fact that in less than 3 years, the popularity of President George Manuel Weah has diminished substantively. Why do I say so? Let me prove it scientifically. To prove this scientifically, I want to make reference to the election that brought Senator Darius DeLong to power. President Weah, before he became president, it took the votes from Maserado. The CDC won with 62% of its total vote just from Maserado. It got 62% of its total vote from Maserado alone. So if you subtract Maserado from the total votes accumulated by the CDC in 2017, CDC is a dead bad. President Weah would not have been president with all Maserado. This is why they are so desperate to win Maserado, to reclaim Maserado, because they got 62% of their total votes from Maserado. And you saw how the opposition snatched Maserado away, thereby bringing on board Abraham Darius DeLong as senator. So, based on this ground, President Weah's popularity has diminished. It has declined substantively as a result of greed, corruption, bad governance, ethnicity, patronage, and other vices that tend to undermine democracy and the rule of law. So I am saying to you, Ashford, the power of the people is greater than those in power. President Weah needs to hear this. Probably he does not understand the philosophical context of this statement. The power of the people is greater than those in power. The power that President Weah has belongs to the people, Ashford. Probably they don't know. It's a borrowed power. For those who are students of politics or those who have studied the epistemology of politics, what they have in their hands, running around with, Ashford, is a borrowed power. The people can decide to take their power away anytime. You make a you made a very important notation wherein protesters will go, they will get hungry and they will begin to leave the street. That's a very important notation. Yes, I agree with you because of the structure of our society, because of the system, because of the situation, our people are usually exhausted so quick to get off the street. Unlike the people in Zimbabwe, unlike the people in Sudan. You saw what happened in Sudan to Omar al-Bashir. Unlike the people in Mali, the latest situation. Unlike the people in Gambia, you saw what happened to Yahya Jammeh. Unlike the people in Egypt, you saw what happened to Hosni Mubarak and his successors. Unlike the people in Tunisia, you saw what happened to Ben Ali. You know, so I'm saying, you know what is affecting the Liberian people right now? There are three factors. There are three factors that continue to undermine the courage and resilience of the Liberian people to consistently protest and demand that President Weah leaves. Number one, fear factor. Some of them, they are afraid, considering Liberia's dark past. They believe that by saying President Weah should go, and remaining in the street will create chaos and crisis. That's a lie. That's a false theory or false concept or perception. No. Other countries like Mali, no bloodshed. Today you have an interim arrangement that is about to lead the country to a democratic election. Zimbabwe, the same thing, no bloodshed. Robert Mugabe finally left. Gambia, the same thing, no bloodshed. Yahya Jammeh finally left and the country transitioned to an interim management team. So it's taking place all around. Sudan, as dictatorial Omar Bashir was, he had excessive power. For more than 20 decades, he was in power. When the people got ready, they said enough was enough. And it was time for Omar Bashir to go. There was no bloodshed. So what is taking place around Africa is a popular uprising of the people through protest, peaceful protest. Peaceful protest, no guns, no war.
Mr. Kollie,
So,
how would you get this done? Let me give an example. There are some people within the Weah-led government that have never gotten on a plane. Some of them never earned $100 before in their entire life. They are building homes in 60 to 90 days. They are flying all over the places. Sometimes when they go to the mother city on shopping sprees. These people have opportunity for the first time in their entire life. And they think they have arrived. How do you have these people leave? When it's all about the Benjamins. They can go to the common person and say, you know what, I would give you this little thing and that little thing. And in all fairness, these people see President Weah as the one that for the first time has started teaching them how to fish. In the past, other people were getting a piece of fish to survive. How do you argue that?
Thank you, Mr. Garley. The first thing I want to say, do you know why the CDC-led government is miserably failing?
That's why you're here to tell us.
Because of what I describe as disloyal loyalty. Disloyal loyalty. A lot of his appointees, political appointees, who are now occupying strategic positions in the government are disloyally loyal. They pretend to be loyal, but in the real sense of the word, they are not loyal. It's cosmetic. It's a cosmetic form of loyalty. They just pretend. It's pretentious. So President Weah thinks that they actually love him, but they love themselves because of what President Weah has done to transform their lives. But realistically speaking, a lot of those people are not even competent and qualified to occupy those positions they have. That is why productivity level in the government is so low. Look at the productivity level in the CDC-led government, very low. For example, how can you make a high school degenerate an assistant minister? How can you make a university degenerate a minister? Somebody who has no clue, somebody who has no knowledge of what he's getting involved with. It makes no sense, Ashford. That's why I said the other day I was being interviewed by Prime FM, and I told the Liberian people that the current ruling establishment you have is a cabal of arrogant illiterates. They are not only illiterate, but they are arrogant in their illiteracy. And I want to say to you, Mr. Garley, that if President Weah does not think twice to bring on board qualified and competent Liberians, he risks a lot. The government risks a lot. And the people of Liberia risks a lot. Because at the end of the day, they are the victims of some of these poor and irrational decisions taken by the government.
I remember President Weah said, in the absence of those who are competent, the incompetent will take up the task. Now, my question to you, for your long-standing in the Liberian politics, did he reach out to those who he perhaps perceived as competent before offering those who are not competent, Martin?
The first thing is the statement of the president, as quoted by you not too long, is a flawed statement. Very flawed and inappropriate. No leader of a country speaks in such manner. There are hundreds and thousands of competent Liberians who are willing to contribute to the forward march of the country. All they need is an opportunity given to them by the CRC, the commander-in-chief. But everything President Weah has done so far is to prefer seditions. That has seditions. You listen to Moba Malu. If you are not a sedition, you will not be preferred or appointed by the president. Even the president himself has validated such statement from his party's chairman. So I am telling you, Ashford, CDC is a gigo, garbage in, garbage out. And there have been some misplacements taking place of late. Look at what he did recently, Ashford. How can you send Wilson Tapper to the EPA? How can you send Wilson Tapper, an accountant by career, to manage the environmental sector of the country? What does Wilson Tapper know about greenhouse gases? What does Wilson Tapper know about radiological reporting? What does Wilson Tapper know about what is called SHE? What does Wilson Tapper know about managing the environment, protecting the ozone layer? He's an accountant. He doesn't know. This is a misplaced appointment. Look at what he did again. Send Eugene Nangwe to Maritime. Go and look at the duties and responsibilities of the Commissioner of Maritime. You're supposed to advise the government on maritime affairs. Eugene Nangwe has only 1 degree from the University of Liberia in mass communication. How can he advise the government on maritime affairs? How can he represent the country at the International Maritime Organization on maritime affairs? Are you aware that under the administration of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, there were Liberians who were trained as maritime experts, maritime economists, maritime specialists? I can remember dozens of them are given scholarship through the Ministry of Education to go to Europe, America, and other parts of the world to learn about maritime affairs, maritime economics, maritime management. Today, they are sitting while President Weah is appointing Eugene Nangwe as Commissioner of Maritime Affairs. There were Liberians who were also sponsored to study environmental science. They have masters, they have PhDs, but they are sitting, and President Weah is preferring an accountant by career. An accountant by career. Look at his latest appointment of Charles Gibson. Charles Gibson is a criminal. His license was suspended by the Supreme Court for duping his clients, for defrauding his clients. He has been rejected on 2 different occasions by the Liberian Senate. But today, President Weah is appointing him again as Minister of Labor. This tells you the level at which the system has broken down, Ashford. And all I want to say to President Weah, he has to be very cautious and careful. The people are disenchanted. The people are dissatisfied. The people are displeased, especially with the manner and form in which his government is proceeding. Our people are no longer safe. They are no longer secure. They are no longer protected because of President Weah's inability to take rational decisions in the best interest of the Liberian Republic.
Now, still on the nationwide approaches that you are suggesting, I listened to the Inspector General of the Liberian National Police, and he signed it as if he's on a mission. Yesterday, he said, if you take to the streets and throw stones, we'll use tear gas. And he said, I am on record saying this. Today, he said the same thing. Do you see some type of civil unrest happening soon, of which the Inspector General is trying to be a little proactive?
Thank you, Mr. Garley. And what I have to say to you, civil unrest is predictable. I can tell you that very soon the people will be compelled to take matter into their own hands. They can no longer bear the suppression, subjugation, coercion from the government of President George Manneh. You know, I don't even want you to call the LMP Liberia National Police. The LMP has lost public trust and confidence.
And what's that?
I call the LMP CDC LMP. CDC Liberia National Police. It's a partisan police force, ASHFORD. It is an open secret. They are proof to show. People with LMP uniforms. They were seen at CDC rallies. The Inspector General of the Liberia National Police, currently Patrick Sudu, is an executive member of the CDC. Do you think the Liberia National Police is independent and impartial? No. That police force in Liberia, ASHFORD, is a partisan police force. In fact, a lot of security apparatuses are becoming partisans of the CDC. So let me tell you, what he said about he will be proactive to crack down on protesters, that's a mere bluff. It's a mere bluff, ASHFORD. And I'm going to tell you why. The police does not even have the capacity in the first place. Manpower-wise, the police does not have the capacity. In terms of finances, the police does not have the capacity. In terms of equipment, the police does not have the capacity. This is the reason. Let's go to this year's budget, 2020-2021 fiscal year. It will interest you to know, ASHFORD, that the WIA-led government has only appropriated 1.1 million to the Liberia National Police. Let's go to page 179, budget code 100, page 179 of the 2020-2021 fiscal year, the national budget of the Republic of Liberia. Last fiscal year, ASHFORD, the budget of the Liberia National Police was 17 million United States dollars. 17 million United States dollars. This fiscal year, the WIA-led government has cut that budget down to 1.1 million. Does that make sense to you? How can 1.1 million be the budget of the Liberia National Police? And the statutory responsibility of the LMP is to provide internal security, to ensure law and order, to protect the people, to protect lives and property. How can 1.1 million provide security for 5 million people? Then look at the budget of the president. What are we spending to provide security for President Weah and Madam Clara Weah? We are spending 7.1 million through the NSA, National Security, not the NSA, through the EPS, the Executive Protection Services. We are spending 7.1 to provide security for President George Manneh Weah and Madam Clara Weah, while we are spending 1.1 million to provide security for 5 million Liberian people. It really makes sense to you, ASHFORD, as a critical voice within the Liberian community. Let's be honest. Let's be fair for once. Let's be fair to our people. How can you get 1.1 million to provide security for our people, and you, President Weah, along with your family, Weah, you get 7.1 million through the EPS to provide security for you? So what the police director says is a mere bluff. They do not even have vehicles. Are you aware? Most of the pickups are down right now as I speak to you. No money to maintain or repair those vehicles.
But
how do
you cut the budget from 17 to 1 million? How do you protect lives and properties as the LMP? What was that decision taken?
This fiscal year. It's in the budget, ASHFORD. Go to page 179.
I know, I've seen it. I'm asking you, what's the reason for that?
Now, the reason is very simple. And I'm going to expose the reason for our people. I hope our people are listening. You know, I'm one person who can investigate ASHFORD. I want to rationalize almost everything to know why. I believe in the Socratic.
17 million to 1 million, you know, and we need the presence of police in the country. I mean, it just doesn't add up for men, you know.
Yeah. So let me tell you why they did it, Ashford. You know, and thank God a lot of people are following. The reason why they cut down, and not only the police or Ashford, not only the police, they did that to the fire service, National Fire Service. They did that to the Drug Enforcement Agency. In fact, I will screenshot that portion of this year's budget and upload it on my page or send it to you, you know, so that you can upload it and your viewers or your audience can see what the facts are. Because for me, I believe in the facts. So this is why they cut down the budget of the LMP, the AFL, the DEA, the National Fire Service, and other security apparatuses. Now, Liberia has transitioned from a democratic state to a gangster republic. Liberia has become a gangster republic. There are a lot of gangster groups emerging under George Weah, including the Sabu unit, including the Zebra unit, and other Turkish units of the CDC-led government. The other day, I said CDC has 2 death squads. I even uploaded the photo of one of the death squads. And I still stand by what I uploaded. I still stand by what I uploaded. The CDC-led government has strategized to disable.
You talk about gangsters and you talk about death squads. Help to fill us in here. What do you know so far? Describe to us what you mean when you talk about death squads and gangsters within the CDC-led government. Maybe you know something that we don't know.
I'm telling you, Ashford, the CDC has 2 Turkish groups that are used to terrorize and kill, brutalize, and inflict casualties on perceived enemies and critical voices in the country or out of the country. Those 2 groups.
Do you have photo images that you can educate us on or to tell us who are those Turkish groups?
Yeah, sure. And I have produced a lot of images and proofs to justify. One group is the Sabu unit, another group is the Zebra unit. Those are the 2 Turkish groups of intransigent elements. They are usually deployed on critical voices, including independent journalists in the country, to harass, coerce, terrorize, and sometimes kill, depending on the mandate they receive from their masters. Now, they also have 2 death squads recruited in the NSA. The National Security Agency. I uploaded the photo of one of those death squads of 9 persons. So the facts are there to prove. So the reason why they have disabled all these autonomous security agencies.
I'm interested in seeing the photos of
it's on my page. I can send to you.
Watch the Turkish groups that you talk about. I don't know the names. I don't know the meaning of it. I'm interested in knowing it so we can further explain to the Liberian people.
No problem, Asha. I can send those information to you. I will even send you the photo of one of the death squads, which I uploaded on my page like 2 weeks ago. Like 2 weeks ago. But I'm only telling you why they had to cut down the budget of these security agencies to such amounts. How can you cut down the budget of the Liberia National Police from 17 million to 1.1 million? There is a motive. And the motive is to disable independent autonomous security agencies so that they allow these Turkish groups to continuously harass and terrorize our people. Because if you disable the LMP, they will not be able to respond or react to some of these gang groups. So by doing that, you cut down their budget. They will not have vehicles, they will not have pickups and other equipment to quickly respond to crimes. Are you aware that armed robbery is increasing in the country? Our people are being killed. Look at the latest murder of 2 professionals, young professionals from the LRA. Murder now has become a common practice in Liberia. Under President Weah, Liberia has become a crime scene. Liberia has become a crime scene under President Weah. Everywhere there is crime. Across the country, there are scandals. But they have they have disabled, they have disempowered security agencies that are established by law to function and respond to these crimes, so that the crimes can continue.
Crime scene under this administration is not new, but this administration came with the intention of changing the narrative. We are seeing this going on now. Why is it getting so bad?
It's getting so bad because those who are in power are bad. It is getting so bad, Ashford, because those who are in power have bad intent. They abhor dissent. The CDC-led government is not tolerant. And the business of democracy is tolerance. So when a certain government is intolerant to the views of those who are opposition or those who are critical of the government, then you will see all of these crimes and scandals taking place. Liberia has become a republic of crimes and scandals. A killer nation. A corrupt republic. There seems to be no solution. So if the government cannot protect her citizens,
let us touch on one more segment before we go to the telephone line. And this has to do with strikes. The finance minister said not too long ago that they saw surplus. Okay. Today, we're seeing employees strike at the Capitol. And we also see employees strike at the Department of Justice. So you have three branches of government. Two of those branches are engulfed when it comes to strikes in the country. Not only that, the health workers are also going on strike. Mr. KOLLIE, what is really going on?
What is really going on, Mr. Garley, is the country has a zero leadership. Zero leadership. What is really going on, Mr. Garley? The country has a zero president. President Williams has a zero president. Zero president. He's a shadow of a president. He's not really a president, but he's a shadow of a president. And let me just inform those who are listening. If they are still hoping that there will be change under the CDC-led government, that hope is a dead hope. That hope is a dead hope. I don't even want to say we have a government. We do not really have a government because government is clearly defined in Article 3 of the 1986 Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. Government consists of three branches: the legislature, the judiciary, or the judicial branch, and then you have the executive branch. Three branches. So when two branches are inactive, how can you say then you have a government? Does Liberia and Liberians have a government? When two branches are inactive, when two branches are dead as a result of consistent protests by staffers of the legislature and judiciary in demand of their arrears, salaries, and benefits? No. Even the executive is not as active as we may think, because health workers are on strike. And health workers fall under the Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health falls under the executive branch. So there are some areas, even under the executive, that are not active. Health workers are still on strike, like you said. Why are they on strike? Because the president and his government cannot meet their demands. What are their demands? They are saying the government should recognize their group, NAWU, as a union, as a functional union to protect the interests of health workers. And the reason why they are saying that because of the continuous exploitation of health workers by the government. Number two, they are demanding hazard pay. You are right in this country, Mr. Garley, when the legislature through a joint resolution approved hazard pay for health workers during this COVID-19. Where is the hazard pay? They promised health workers ration rights. Where is the rights? Through WFP 30 million rest aid program. They also terminated the contract of 1,000 health workers, describing them as retirees, or replacing those 1,000 health workers. Now we're saying no, it's wrong because you put our people at risk. If those facilities are empty as a result of retiring 1,000 people whom you are yet to replace, then you put the Liberian people at risk. So please replace them. Those are some of the demands from health workers. As I speak to you right now, a lot of health facilities around the country are completely empty because thousands of health workers are on strike. This clearly tells you the level at which this government is grossly incompetent and clueless about managing critical in the country.
Now, Martin, going on strike.
Let's go to staffers on Capitol Hill.
Hold on a minute. Just before we move on to the staffers on Capitol Hill, still on the health workers, going on strike is one thing. You have a patient that is lying there fighting for his or her life. And because, according to you, you have not gotten paid, even though you were trained as a nurse or a doctor, you leave that patient lying down and leave the hospital, and that patient end up dying. How do you live with that? Why don't you perform your duty and later on ask the question about your pay?
Thank you, Mr. Garley. Very important question. But I'm going to address it now. All health workers in Liberia, including around the world, everywhere you go, usually a health worker pledges allegiance to what is called the Natty-Gate Oath. The Natty-Gate Oath. Every health worker pledges his or her allegiance to this oath. The Natty-Gate Oath says, I solemnly pledge myself before God in the presence of this assembly to pass my life in purity and practice my perfection faithfully. That is the Natty-Gate Oath. And every health worker takes that oath. However, it does not mean that they should be dying while saving lives. That's not the interpretation of that oath, Mr. Garley. You are in the United States of America. Liberians monitoring across the world are in different countries, different parts of the world. The way health workers are treated in those countries are far different from the way health workers are treated in Liberia. Do you know what it means to not take pay for 11 months, Mr. Garley? I will also share with you the payroll, right? The payroll of health workers in Liberia, their pay grades. It's confidential, but I'll just share with you. My soul said I shouldn't share it. I should just look at it and provide information, but I will share with you. It will also be between you and I. Look at the pay grade. Honor Ellen Johnson said, I gave you an example. Health workers in the hinterland. Health workers in the hinterland was getting like $300 United States per month. If you are assigned in Grand Gita, if you are assigned in Sino, if you are assigned in Grand Coup, Maryland, and other parts of rural Liberia, Honor Ellen Johnson said if you were receiving up to $300 United States plus 70,000 LD. Honor Mr. Weir, do you know the amount right now, Mr. Garley? They cut that amount down to $160 United States plus 7,500 Liberian dollars. I will send the payroll to you. You see how wicked these people are? Besides cutting down the salaries and allowances of these health workers to $160 United States plus 7,500 Liberian dollars, they are not receiving it on time. Sometimes it takes up to 6 months, 4 months, 3 months before health workers can receive 1 month's salary. And these people have families. They have kids to sponsor in school. They have to survive. They need money to take care of themselves and their families. They cannot be dying while saving lives. That's not what the Natty-Gate Oath says. President Weir was so intransigent to the plight of those health workers when he said he will replace them with student nurses. Does that make sense to anybody? Is this how a leader speaks? He should be rebuked for that, Mr. Garrett. How can you say you will replace health workers who are on strike with student nurses. So that student nurses will treat the Liberian people, right? Can student nurses treat President Weah and his family? President Weah submit himself to student nurses to treat him or provide medication for him. When they are sick, they use the country money to go abroad. JFK, the budget of JFK this fiscal year is 6.1 million. Can 6.1 million run the largest referral hospital in the country, Mr. Garley? It doesn't make sense. So this is how vulnerable our people are. When they are sick, they go abroad. They use the country money, the taxes of the people, to seek medication abroad, in the US, in Europe, other parts of Africa, including Ghana, South Africa, and other places. To go and spend our taxes in those countries, instead of spending those taxes in our health sector to improve the system, to improve our facilities. This is how egregious and evil these people are. They have made our entire health sector vulnerable. More people are got the death toll has increased as a result of the strike of these health workers. Who do you blame for that? We blame the government. The government is irresponsible. The statement of the president that he will replace those health workers with student nurses was not only provocative, but reactive, and it even undermined the negotiation process. So I'm in defense of health workers. I'm in defense of the strike. I'm in defense of their strike action. And I will continue to stand in solidarity with them until this government can address those legitimate concerns raised.
The voice of Martin K. and Kollie, that was special guest this afternoon on ASHFORD GARLEY Live. Folks, if you just joined us, we're also live on Super FM 95.5. We're live from Live FM 104.1. And we're also live from Super Television Channel 10. We'll now go to the telephone lines. The number to call is 248-979-1718. I called and weigh in as well. Once again, the telephone number to call is 248-979-1718. And Mr. Martin Kollie, you were just talking about the judiciary about this track that started today as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, as I speak to you, courthouses around the country are locked down because judicial workers are also on strike.
Just hold that thought.
Health workers.
Just hold that thought, Mr. Martin. I believe we have a call on the line, and this person, I believe, is calling from New Jersey. The last 4 digits of your number, 2492. Please tell us your name.
This is Abraham of the Ugar.
Please speak a little bit louder.
Abraham the Ugar.
Hello, welcome to the show. You're live on the radio. Go ahead and ask your question. You have 1 minute.
Yes, I want to say thank you very much for this platform, for bringing our brother Martin on. I've been following him. It's revolutionary. What I want to ask him is that how best you think we can help our people in Liberia right now besides the government? If we don't want to depend on this government, how best do you think we can help this government? I mean, this our people in Liberia.
Thank you. 404 is the error code, the last 4 digits of your number, 5974. Please tell us your name.
How you doing, Mr. ASHFORD? My name is Aaron Pavley. I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Welcome to the show. You're live on the radio.
Thank you. Yes. Can he please provide the proof or the picture of the 2 groups that he was talking about, like killing people in Liberia, before he leave the show? Thank you.
Thank you. We have Mr. Alex Jones on the line from Florida. Alex, hello and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Garley, and thank you, Mr. Kollie. Well, my question here today is, I think I mentioned it earlier in the chat that I think Mr. Kollie, while he's a respectable journalist and an advocate, I think he's being a little disingenuous and very biased. He's calling for a protest. My question to him is, who does he expect to manage this protest in a wake of all of the confusion and all of the corruption in the opposition, the CPP in their own process? He made not one mention about the quote unquote opposition who is supposed to take power tomorrow. So I think he needs to clarify who is this opposition individual or party that he hopes to replace George Weah. Now that I'm seeing that George Weah administration is good, but he seems so optimistic on this opposition. So can he clarify that, because he didn't seem to make any reference to the incompetence in the opposition, as well as the incompetence in the previous governments in Liberia. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll stop to these three callers, and Mr. Kollie, go ahead and respond.
Now, the first thing is, let me address Mr. Jones's question. You know, he started by saying I'm becoming disingenuous. I don't think so. Probably he did not follow the show from the beginning to understand the actual basis of my presentation. But if Mr. Jones has read the dialectics of protest, you will get to know, Mr. Garley, that protests really do not have specific managers. Protest usually erupts as a result of conflicting interests in the context of Marxist dialectics. I'm a student of dialectics, history, and politics as well, besides being a student of economics by career. Right. So, I'm telling you, there is no specific manager of protests. Protests can erupt from anywhere at any time, depending on conflicting interests. You know, if you further study the science, they will tell you that protests have two sides that are distinct, but yet inseparable. And the inseparability of protest draws conflicting interests. They are drawn from conflicting interests. So what I have to say, look at the protests in Mali, for example. Nobody called for protests. Look at the protests in Zimbabwe. Nobody called for protests. The people started coming in the street and said, "Oh, we're tired. We are tired." You know. So I think it is up to the Liberian people to decide their own social, economic, and political destiny. But where we have come, if you look at the two pillars of our society, every society has two pillars: the substructure and the superstructure. The substructure is the economy. The superstructure is the political system. Both the superstructure and the substructure of our country are completely disabled, completely dead, inactive. So it is up to the people to decide whether they want a paradigm or not. Talk about the opposition. I am not siding with the opposition. When CDC was in the opposition, I was critical of the Unity Party-led government. This is the same thing I'm doing. But what I can tell you, from what I've seen so far, the opposition political parties have presented a more genuine alternative than the CDC. If you put CDC on the left, you put the opposition political parties on the right, who do you think I will settle down with? I will settle down with the opposition, because CDC has miserably failed. CDC has been tested and they have failed. That's the science. That's the reality of it, Mr. Guy. That's it. The other person asked, what can we do right now in Liberia? Now, let me just say this. How can we help our people in Liberia? That was the specific question. There are many ways. There are many ways to help our people in Liberia, especially for those of us who are in the diaspora, whether you are in America or Europe or Asia or Africa or whichever part of the world you are. There are many ways to help our people. One of the ways to help our people is to continuously educate them. Because what we have in Liberia is an illiterate population, illiterate voting population. We have two critical elections ahead. December 8th election, and we have October 2023 election. Our society is not politically conscious. That's one of the factors affecting us right now, Mr. Guy. When you ask your question about the people coming in the street and they will go back home because they are hungry, that has got to do with political consciousness. And political consciousness can only come through mass political education. So we have to commit ourselves to educating this already illiterate voting population and tell them the worth, the value of their votes, the power they have through their ballots. And this is one of the campaigns or exercises I have started. Educating our people, telling them, look, there's one ballot you have. It's far more important than gold. It's far more important than diamond. It can change your life. It can further hurt you. When the people get to understand what they have in their hands as ballots to decide their fate, to decide their destiny, to transform their lives, to build a new future for their kids, they will begin to take rational decisions. But what we have now is an outcome of what I describe as rational irrationality in the context of Kaplan's theory. An American economist, he projected a theory or promulgated a theory called the rationality irrationality. It means during voting, voters don't think about their past. They don't think that they were suffering. They go to the polls, electing these very same old people, these very same crooked politicians, and they forget that these same people were suffering there. So they take irrational decisions.
Okay.
They take irrational decisions. That's what Kaplan said. You know, so my point is, what we have had over the decades, what we have had over 173 years, is an outcome of irrational decisions. So how do we change that? How do we change the trend of irrational decisions? That's what all of us should be concerned with. It can only come through mass political education. It can only come through civic education. It can only come through voters' education. It can only come through building a new system that will make our people economically independent, because two dangerous factors affecting them right now: illiteracy and poverty. So if we don't deal with illiteracy, if we don't deal with poverty, these irrational decisions will continuously be made by Liberian population.
Okay. Mr. Kollie, you have a laundry list of bad governance, according to you, by this administration. Now, we have 3 callers on the line. We're going to go to them. But my question to you, if you were to tell me 3 things that you think this government has done for the last 3 years, that you would tell them, thank you for, what would it be? Hold that thought. As we go to the line, we have Mr. Kula. I want to thank you for your patience. You've been on for a while now. Batu Kula from Atlanta, Georgia. Batu, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm calling in to say to Martin that he's great in all his write-ups. He does a great job of pointing out the excesses and the lapses of the government. But what I would advise Martin to continue to do is to be objective and balanced. Do not try to make up any stories on the government, and do not try to exaggerate. Just point out what they're doing and let the Liberian people make their decision. The other thing I like to point out is this: when they do something right, let them know what and how they could have improved on it or made it a little bit better. Don't just constantly focus on the negative. And finally, the side of the coin in the opposition that says that it's a good strategy to try to protest a legitimate government out of power, I would say it's a wrong strategy. Hassan Fadiga has been pushing that, although he's in law enforcement, but it's wrong. The minute George Weah tries to cheat in an elections in 2023 or tries to overstay his time in power, then you have a legitimacy in creating a kind of protest movement that was done in Egypt and Sudan. But to try to duplicate what was done in Egypt and Sudan in Liberia at this point in time is a wrong move on the opposition, and I would tell you not to try to go that route. That's the point I want you guys to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Kula. We have 212 is the area code. The last 4 digits of your number, 2083. Please tell us your name.
My name is Amadou Dagabwe Blam. I'm calling from New York, New York. Thank you, Mr. Garley. My advice to Martin KOLLIE is that he's young. He needs to go back to school, study, advance himself, and try to do better for Liberia. Liberia does not need any confusion, chaos, or protest or what have you. It won't solve any problem. Our problem in that country is a complex problem that has been almost a 200 years old problem. That he very healthy very healthy economy with nobody facing problem since that country was created. Why are they doing this to our people? Is protest the only solution? Is that the only solution? You can pinpoint some errors. There's no government that is perfect under the sun, but you cannot always incite chaos. Our people going through a lot, man. You can't keep doing this. Otherwise, he's talking, he has no clues. He himself just admitted that the past government was paying people, lawmakers $15,000 and giving healthcare workers $300. Does that equation, is that equation balanced? Why? This country has multitudes of problems. They have educational problems, developmental problems, healthcare issues.
Thank you.
A whole bunch of problems. You know, then you keep talking, people should go and demonstrate. Is that the only way of finding solution to our country? Let them stop this, man. Our people have enough. And they keep inciting chaos. This won't work for them. This is not a solution to help our people.
I give you plenty of time to talk.
Stop it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, caller. Okay, we have a 609 number. The last 4 digits of your number, 2573. Please tell us your name.
Hello.
609 2573. Please tell us your name.
My name is Christopher Bubler.
Welcome to the show. You live on the radio. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Garley. The brother we just left the line, asking KOLLIE to go back to school. Why are we and he say that thing? KOLLIE trying to incite people. The people that are in Liberia themselves seeing what the government is doing to them. Our people are suffering. The same government that people say, oh, Opon he has a country at heart, suffering our people. People are being murdered on a daily basis. Our brothers and sisters don't have food to eat. Then that guy said in New York, talking about this, but we're not talking about protest, which means do you guys have to go and do? Should they take gun and start shooting in the street? Protest will be the main way to go. So why are they doing this thing? Can you imagine anyone giving health worker $300 for people like Ibrahim Crew in China and other places? John Ware came, he said he get a corner high. You cut it down to $100 and some more dollars. We're being wicked. Because some of them get brothers and sisters in government in Liberia, in the city in America, they talk nonsense. Time for my expression.
Thank you, sir.
Then he said he can't buy the school. It's not you to go buy the school or advocate for our people.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Garley, thank you for it.
Okay. We'll take 2 more callers, Martin, and then we'll go back to you. We have somebody calling from Atlanta. The last 4 digits of your number, 8780. Please tell us your name.
Yes, Mr. Garley. My name is Abraham Malobi.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Well, I don't have a question for Mr. KOLLIE. I have a public advice that many of my people been urging me. Can I keep speaking?
Yeah, you're live. Go ahead. You're live on the radio.
Okay. I have a public advice for Mr. KOLLIE, and have asked me to speak up. So my public advice to Mr. KOLLIE is that I support Darius DeLong. I support George Weah, and I love George Weah dearly because he is a Liberian. And as a young man, I took a different turn after looking at the war. Mr. KOLLIE, all the things that you're saying is right. your protest, I support it because protest is a democratic. It's a democratic. How I put it is a constitutional stuff that the citizen of a country can exercise. But we would not allow, I can tell you this for a fact, and I will send this video back to Ellen and other people there to listen. We would not allow any disruption of the democratic process of Liberia. I can tell you, we will give our blood, sweat, and tears to ensure our people. The same thing that you're talking about, people dying, we're sending money left and right. And people not getting it right. We pray that the government do right. Please let the government do right. If George Weah is here, and change the way how you do things, But to my family man, to Ben Nayue or whoever it is, please hold the peace, hold the structure. I understand what you're saying. But I go to Mr. Garley comment when he talks about we are employ people who did not know how to fish and now is we are who teaching them how to fish. Go back to President Doe. When I was a little boy on 39 Macklin Street, my father is the late Councilor Isaac Richard Malobi. I watched Doe come upstairs. And when Doe left my father law library, the late Councilor Isaac Richard Malobi, born 1924 of March, resigned with President Barclay in the executive mansion, went back to his Macklin Street residence to resign. My father walked into the hallway with a lot of people in the hallway, and he looked at me, his son, Abraham Malobi, and he said, I feel for this man. Why I feel for this man? Because he do not have the ability to go to the people and talk to them. And I'm reaching out to the WEA government, go to the people, go to the people, go to the people before it get too late. They drum that you're beating. My family is American Liberian. My mother's side is Native woman. They drum that you're beating on a second country man to become president. Y'all be careful. Y'all be careful. But we, the so-called relationship to Congo people, because I got child by a crown woman. Yeah? So y'all be careful because we will not allow it to happen. Anything that spiked in that town, we will immediately move and tell these people. And I'm a Jewish man in America. I tell the American government, I talk to the people. I say, listen, man, y'all calm down. Because Ellie has so much help. So we ain't got help. You know what Liberia problem? Martin, let me tell you the truth. A young man, Liberia problem is you ain't doing nothing for the country. You just speaking. Go do business. Employ people. Raise enough taxes for the government to pay the people. I told Costa publicly. I'm saying this thing because, LeBron, you're sitting aside, you're just listening to the people there talking. The country man is the one who beating the drum, not the Congo man again. America coming again. You know, we in America, we're doing this thing. They coming again. It was Jackson, it was Samuel Jackson back in the day, and then now is another person again.
Thank you.
Here's what we're right about you. Anything spiking that time, I can tell you.
Thank you, sir.
Watch these people that fighting on Macklin Street. We will stop it.
Thank you.
Go get a job. Go create business. Employ thousands of Liberians. That's the problem.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you so much.
All the time. We can't keep begging.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
And one of the things that I agree with the caller on is that, listen, I know how war can treat a country and treat the people, and today, my father and my uncles don't have grave. When there's a memorial day or decoration day, I don't know where to turn to. My kids don't have the luxury of grandparents. So war is a dangerous thing. And why it is true that we all disagree with most of the things that this government is doing. The man was legitimately elected with his term, get enough voters to go and unseat this man. But if you in any way are thinking about violence to attempt to unseat the legitimate government, you will be wrong, you know, and I don't condone that. Two more callers. Two more. Hold a minute. You the guest you got all the time. Got two more callers to come back to, and then we can conclude the show. Dodi, you're live on the radio.
Yeah, thank you, Lodi. Thank you very, very much. Martin, thank you very, very, very much. You are a little brother and son to both of us that speaking to you now, Brother Gade and myself. But, you know, when Peter was leaving 2003, he said, and let me quote what Peter said. Any leader that comes after me, if you are not in good rapport with America, this country will suffer. Exactly, this is what happened. You see, we don't want war in Liberia no more. Some of us have spent over certain time in America and we are investing in Liberia. We don't want war. But, you know, protest is a kind of telling the president or the leadership in the country, hey, this is where you guys are going wrong. We then speaking on this thing, Garley spoke on it, you spoke on it, Costa spoke on it, people spoke on the same thing. And advocates spoke on the same thing. The only best thing that we all can do, the very best station though, Liberia is where you cannot be deported. But all of us put our 1 or 2 cents together to see how better we can develop our country. But let me tell this government, let me tell the Liberian people, all of us on here, we are on social media. Right after this government, this is a text for the Liberian people. Right after president, we have government. Any president that comes in Liberia will do better than since our incursions as a country from 1847 up to this time. Because those days there was no technology. There was technology, but Garley was used to take water in the studio. He never used to have fun. There were only few people. Sometimes when he's coming or saying those things, I can laugh at him. But what happened? There are all smartphones around the world today that you can even sit in your bedroom and run your own government from there. So Liberians, you gotta be patient, also watch it aside, and let's move forward. Thank you. You see the kind of death that happening in Liberia on a president here. Broad day. Thank you, Brother Gade.
Thank you so much. The last caller for the day, then we'll go back to Martin. He's calling from New Jersey. The last 4 digits of your number, 2492. Please tell us your name. Caller, you have to be a little bit audible, please. Tell us your name. We still can't hear you, sir. Well, that does it for the callers for today. Martin, go ahead and respond, and then we can call this a day. We didn't even adjust all of the things that we wanted to talk about. You know, the people in Liberia, they have to do some other programs. So go ahead and come in, and we can call this a day.
Thank you, Mr. Garley. You know, I've listened to all of the callers, and I just want to appreciate them for their thoughts. I respect their opinions. However, let me begin with the thoughts of Dr. Batonkula. You know, he said, I need to be objective and not focus on the negatives. I need not to exaggerate. I don't really know what he's talking because if you look at the wave of mysterious deaths in the country, what does he call exaggeration? How does he want me to be objective? I'm pointing to the facts. I have not only been negative, I have never even been negative. By pointing to the flaws and faults does not point to negativity. It simply tells you that there are gaps and the system is ruining as a result of these gaps. Therefore, we must fix these gaps. You cannot start solving a problem without identifying the problem. So while we identify the problem, we are also suggesting. When I write all of these papers, all of these analyses, I suggest way forward. I do not point out the problems only. And Dr. Kula also talked about protests, and the succeeding callers talk about protests, no need for protests. Let's give President Weah up to 2023. Let me just say this. I disagree with them. One of the callers even talking about I need to go back to school. What does he know about me? He needs to tell, his analysis was even flawed. He needs to go back to school. What does he know about the Constitution of Liberia when it comes to protests? Who told them that protest is a crime or a taboo under the Constitution of the country? I believe in the law. The law calls for protest. Protest is a fundamental principle of democracy. When the people are dissatisfied and displeased about the manner and form in which the government is running, they have got every right to protest according to Article 17 of the 1986 Constitution. So sometimes the people have to read before making comments. Let's go to Article 17 of the 1986 Constitution. It is provided for. Protest is provided for. It is not a crime. It is permissible under the doctrine of democracy. Even in the great United States of America, when people are not satisfied, they protest. It is happening everywhere. That's part of democracy. In fact, it even heals. Protest heals. It solves problems. It has engendered change, social change. So a few callers running away from protests. Why should we run away from protests? Are you aware, or are they aware, Mr. Garley, that CDC has had the highest number of protests since 1847? Seditions were holding caskets yesterday on their heads. Why did they didn't tell them to stop protesting? CDC has had the highest number of protests in the history of Liberia. They have called for the step down of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf consistently through mass protests when they were in the opposition. Why are they not making reference to these activities of yesterday? The next thing I want to say, Mr. Garley, is I will not, because even himself, those who usually say, oh, Martin, you go back to school, what do they know? He was providing flaw analysis. What do they really know? If he wants us to debate, we can come here and debate. Even on the economy, we can come and talk about the economy. Does he really know what's happening in Liberia right now? For example, look at how the people are suffering. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the fact that government cannot account for 25 million. No, he doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the fact that 16 missing billion is a topical issue in Liberia. He doesn't care about the fact that there is corruption at the Ministry of Finance. There is corruption at the Maritime Authority. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the fact that there is a wave of mysterious deaths around the country. He doesn't care about the fact that inflation is 33.3%. He doesn't care about the fact that the purchasing power of our people is reducing. Unemployment rate is increasing. He doesn't care about the fact that since we came to power, there has been no investment company coming to the country. No, they don't care about that. All they care about, oh, don't protest. When you protest, there will be war. Who told you protest is war? Who told you protest is war? Protest does not mean war. Protest does not mean suppression. Am I calling for suppression? Am I calling for violence? Am I calling for war? No. I'm calling for protest. Protest has been taking place everywhere. I gave you instances at the beginning of the show. Recently in Malay, there was no bloodshed, and the government stepped down. Today you have an interim management team that is about to lead the country to a democratic election. It's happening everywhere. Especially when the people are provoked to act in their own interest, in the interest of the country. So nobody should think that I'm calling for violence or I'm calling for suppression. I'm not saying we should subvert the government. I'm saying we can protest and protest to ensure what we want happens. That's what I'm saying. I'm not calling for war. I'm calling for a nationwide protest. In fact, the greatest war is poverty. Look at how poor the people are. You know how many people have lost their jobs on the George Weah, and they are even dying in poverty? They don't care about that one, right? Or they care about, oh, let them reach 2023. Protest is a poor strategy. Who told you protest is a poor strategy? Protest is not a poor strategy. And let me also say this, Mr. Garley. Those who think that President Weah is promised It says year term. That's not what the Constitution says.
I ask you just before you give us your partner comment, I ask you about 3 things that you can tell the Liberian people. I know you have a laundry list of the things that you consider bad about things that are happening in the country. Give us 3 things that President Weah has done in 3 years that you are proud of. You can tell him thank you for.
Yeah. So, like the other day, the president announced, it was an announcement. The president announced tuition-free education. I publicly said thank you. Recently, the president declared rape as a national emergency. I said thank you. The president paid WIAC fees. I said thank you. So, I'm not bent on just criticizing, right? Even though some of these things he has said are yet to come to fruition, or he has yet to implement them. But I still say thank you, because it was a good step. To even announce it's a good step. So I have appreciated the government on numerous occasions. I'm not only interested in criticizing. No, I'm interested in criticizing only. So let the caller who called and said, "Oh, President Weah needs to reach 2023." He needs to know that President Weah is not assured reaching 2023. No law assures President Weah. The Constitution says, at any given point in time, the people reserve the right to alter the government. Alter means change, to change the government in as much as they are dissatisfied and displeased. So no president, not even the President Weah, however president that will come after him, no president is assured 2023 or says yes. The people can even take their power back from you the very same year you were inaugurated. And a lot of the people need to know these things as well. They are not even reading what the law says. They do not even know the realities. They just come and let's get them up to 2023. Their conclusions or comments are not even backed with scientific reasoning. There's somebody telling me I need to go back to school. You know my level? You think school is about sitting in classroom? You think school is about holding book in your hand? So please call for a debate between the person who said I need to go back to school so that we can debate on the state of the affairs in the country and the economy. People sit in the state and they make big mouth. Big mouth, pre-show. Some of them do not even know anything. So what I'm saying, let me just zero in on the situation of CPP.
You know, as an advocate and celebrity, people will get underneath your skin. Just speak on your issue and move on. As long as your conscience is clear, you don't have to respond to everybody, bro. You know, that's what I'm saying. But finally, give us your parting comment, and then we can call this a day.
Yeah, my parting comment will be about this lawsuit filed by the CPP. You know, let me just zero in on it. You know, quite frankly, if you look at the opposition right now, the opposition is somehow disintegrated because of greed. You know, there are conflicting interests. There are competing interests right now in the opposition. And as a result of these competing interests, the progress of the CPP is being undermined. So recently, the CPP filed a lawsuit against the National Elections Commission. Why? Because NEC refused to clean the voters' roll. And I just want to give a brief thought on this. Recently, what the NEC was doing, ASHFORD, recently, what the NEC was involved with, they were registering new voters. ASHFORD, it should not be.
I will extend the show to 4 o'clock. Go ahead, Martin.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate so much. You know, and quite frankly, if you look at the verdict of the Supreme Court, 2017, when the Liberty Party of the late Councillor Charles Bronskin sued the National Elections Commission, there was a formal verdict from the Supreme Court, specifically on Thursday, December 7th. The Supreme Court of Liberia ruled that the evidence of fraud during the first round of the presidential elections on October 10, 2017 was not sufficient enough to merit a rerun. That was the ruling of the Supreme Court, Mr. Garley. I want to give a background before giving my thought on this matter. The Supreme Court said the evidence was not sufficient to cancel the result of the election. And that ruling was given on Thursday, December 7, 2017. However, the Supreme Court made a number of notations. The Supreme Court made a number of notations, and I just want to go through. Besides the ruling, they said the National Elections Commission should put in place these things. So in the opinion of the Supreme Court, as I read, wherefore, and in view of the foregoing, it is the considered opinion of the Supreme Court that the ruling of the National Elections Commission Board of Commissioners declaring a rerun is hereby affirmed. However, with modification as follows. Number one, that the NEC is mandated in order to fully comply with the standards of publications of the FFR as in keeping with law as discussed in the opinion. Number two, that the NEC is mandated to conduct a full cleanup of the FFR to have it comply with the provisions of the law. FFR means final registration rule. Number three, that the FFR be made available in published hard copies to all election magistrates and polling places across the country in accordance with the law prior to any runoff election being conducted. Number four, that given the fact that the FFR is the only electoral document that speaks to the eligibility of voters, this is hereby prohibited from permitting anyone whose name is not formed on the FFR to vote. Number five, that any addendum to the FFR be limited to only those listed in the NEC's polling and counting manual. Now, let's get to the issue, Mr. Guy. What the NEC was doing recently, they were accepting new voters. It's against the law, the new electoral law. It's against Article 89 of the 1986 Constitution. It is against Chapter 2, Section 9 of the 1986 New Electoral Law of Liberia. It is against Chapter 3, Subchapter B, Section 3.10 of the New Electoral Law of Liberia. And I hope those in the opposition could begin to dig out of these facts and challenge the decision of the NEC. But everybody saying, oh, you're supposed to do this, so file a lawsuit. But they are not having the facts. And these are facts. The Supreme Court was very clear in its ruling that the voters' roll should be cleaned. Up to date, the voter roll is not clean. And we're about to go to election in December. So it means that NEC did not uphold the ruling of the Supreme Court. And who is sitting in chamber right now? Siana Yo, Justice Siana Yo. And she just trashed the petition of the opposition political parties. She said the argument is not valid. How can the argument not be valid when this very same Supreme Court said NEC should clean the voters' roll? You said, you as the Supreme Court said NEC should clean the voters' roll. NEC has not cleaned the voters' roll. How would the argument of the CPP not be valid? So it means that the Supreme Court itself is not upholding its own verdict or ruling that it passed in 2017. The full bench of the Supreme Court passed this verdict. So I'm becoming very disappointed in the Supreme Court, Mr. Garley. Our people are losing trust and confidence in our court system, in our judiciary, in our justice system.
No,
and if the Supreme Court...
Now, Mr. Martin, what political actions the CPP is planning to take if the voter rolls are not cleaned prior to December 8th special elections? I listened to the rotational chair of the CPP and the standard bearer of the ANC this afternoon, Mr. Alexander Bay comments. What do you know?
The first thing is, basically, Mr. Garley, any attempt to reject the lawsuit or the argument of the CPP relative to voters' roll clean up, the Supreme Court will be defying its own ruling of 2017. The CPP has a choice. You know, I wrote a 5-page analysis. It was published in one of the subsidiaries of Wall Street Journal. It is still on the internet. I provided 5 recommendations to the CPP and to the situation. Because I want to be very clear here. The CPP is in favor of the ruling party or the ruling party. The commission of the National Elections Commission is in favor of the ruling establishment and it will protect the ruling establishment. The Supreme Court is in favor of the ruling establishment and it will protect the ruling establishment. So what can CPP do in this case? Especially when legitimate organizations or agencies that should be autonomous and independent are not independent. The CPP has an option to go to the ECOWAS ahead of time. Liberia is a member of ECOWAS. ECOWAS is a community of 15 states in Africa. And Liberia is a member of ECOWAS. ECOWAS court can overturn some of these action and inaction of the Supreme Court, even though the Supreme Court is the last arbiter of justice in the land. But if the last arbiter of justice in the land cannot uphold its integrity and dignity, then it means a greater court needs to act, and that is the ECOWAS court. And that is the ECOWAS court. So all the CPP needs to do, have a crack team of legal minds, take the matter to the ECOWAS court, take the matter to AFES, International Federation of Electoral System, take the matter to UNDP, the American Embassy, and other partners. Explain to them, this is what the Supreme Court said in 2017. The ruling should be upheld on neck, and even the Supreme Court, but it is not going this way. So now, you guys need to intervene, or else it will provoke crashes in the country.
Now, still on the CPP and the special elections on December 8th. George Weah claims that Monserrato Kande is his baby. You know, we don't know whether it's George Weah on the ballot or it is Thomas Fowler that is on the ballot. You see that cohesiveness within the CDC. They are doing sometimes you will see McGill or Toy. They're all on the front line campaigning for Thomas Fowler. And not only would they go there in the numbers, but they would do so financially as well because they have the edge when it comes to money. Darius Dillon is popular, but he doesn't have the financial capacity. There are people within the CPP who have money. I'm told now that some of the heavyweights within the CPP are afraid that if Darius Dillon wins as Senator Monserrato Kande, he instantly becomes the face of the opposition. What do you know, Martin?
You know, quite frankly, those claims are yet to be investigated by me. But even if they are true, assuming but not admitting, I don't think there should be any fear of Darius Dillon's re-election. The very same way those opposition political leaders supported Dillon, they should support him. Because the stakes are very high in these elections. These elections upcoming December in the 15 counties, the stakes are very high.
To win election, you need money. The officials, the higher ups in the CP, are they willing to support Darius Dillon financially? That's my question to you.
I don't want to conclude to win election you need money. To win election you need people, you need votes. That's the foremost thing. You can get money, but the people can vote for another candidate. Look at the election that took place in 2009 between the late Senator Doe Sherif, Geraldine Doe Sherif, and Clemence Ure. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was supporting Clemence Ure in that election. They spent all the money. But still Geraldine won. Geraldine didn't have money. She didn't have a dime, but she won the election. Look at the election that took place between George Weah and Robert Sirleaf. Robert Sirleaf had all the money. He spent all the money. He bought all the people he could buy. But still George Weah win at the end of the day without even spending a lot of money. Look at Senator Dillon, for example. He won the election without spending money. And he can win again without spending money. He just needs the support of all the political leaders and actors in the opposition. That's all. But if they do not support Dillon, worst case scenario, and Dillon loses, it means that the CPP has also lost 2023 election, whoever will become the presidential candidate. Because Monserrato is a hot political spot. I just told you, without Monserrato, George Weah would not have won. CDC got 62% of its total vote for Monserrato. So whoever wins Monserrato in this upcoming December election has a better chance to win 2023 election. And I have proven it scientifically.
Now, Martin,
I have proven it scientifically.
Martin, what is the CDC depending on? I heard the chairman of the CDC, he said, if Thomas Fowler doesn't win, he will resign as chairman of the CDC. Akaras Gray is saying Dillon is a vocational senator. Why are these guys so confident that they are going to unseat Darius Dillon on December 8th?
Now, let me tell you why they are confident, Mr. Garley. There is a conspiracy in the making currently to rig the election. That's why all of them are so sure that Darius Dillon will lose. These statements are not for nothing. They are based on the fact that systems have been set in place already to rig the process, to deprive the people of their will and power. They push. So they know what's happening already at the Elections Commission. They know what's happening already at the Supreme Court. And I can tell you for a fact, worst case scenario, if Thomas Fowler wins and the opposition take a case at the Supreme Court is going to validate the verdict of the National Elections Commission. I said this ever since, and I'm saying it again. I'm saying it again that CPP should not trust the National Elections Commission. CPP should not trust the Liberia National Police. CPP should not trust the Supreme Court. Look at the composition of the Supreme Court, for example, Mr. Garley. Pro-seditions. For example, the Chief Justice is pro-CDC. The Chief Justice is pro-CDC. Justice Kaba, his pro-CDC. Justice Saneyo, pro-CDC.
Okay, hold on.
Except for Justice
Martin, hold out thought.
Justice Gineto Wolcott.
Since we extended the time, let us just squeeze in one more caller. Hello, caller. Tell us your name.
Hello, my name is Josiah Jokai Jr. I'm calling you from Danbury, Connecticut.
Okay, you live on the radio. Go ahead, make your point, please.
Thank you. I'd like to say good day to Martin and thanks for the beautiful discussion. But I just got attracted by the aspect of the conversation on the voter roll because it's something that I've worked with for some time in Liberia, 5 years working for the Elections Commission, and I thought it was appropriate for me to call. The fact is that the current voter roll does not have any credibility or integrity to be used for any elections going forward. I've been making this clear from 2015, and there are more than 4 different articles I've written with respect to the issues that we have with the voter roll. The first thing with that voter roll is inundated with a lot of names of dead people, so many names of dead people. In 2011, prior to the election and in keeping with the elections law, we were able to do a facial recognition project that identified more than 10,000 duplicate names. And the law provides that we are supposed to compile those names and forward them to the Ministry of Justice, who will then authorize the Elections Commission to remove those names from the roll. We did just that in 2011 and forwarded those names to the Ministry of Justice. I can tell you that up to now, those little over 10,000 names have not been removed from the roll.
Oh, wow.
Beyond that, there are also the names of dead people on the roll, so many names. The National Elections Commission is supposed to work with the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Health to remove those names from the roll. There are provisions in the elections law that require the Elections Commission and those 2 government agencies to work together to remove the names of dead people from the roll. Those names are still on the roll. The other thing is that I raised an issue, and it's also captured in the verdict of the Supreme Court, part of it that was read by Mountain. I am also reflected in that verdict because I was one of those witnesses, 10 witnesses in the case, that provided some key information regarding voter irregularities and fraud in the 2017 election. And
Thank you.
I underscore the need for the political parties to follow up with the Elections Commission in keeping with the Supreme Court ruling, that the special online voters roll that was created by the Elections Commission without the acquiescence of the political party, the Elections Commission was required by the Supreme Court to delete that particular voter roll, that special roll, that online roll. Whether or not that was done, political parties have not even inquired. They have not even followed up on that.
Wow.
I'm not sure that has been done.
Thank you,
So
Joe.
the role is not having any credibility or integrity.
Thank you. You know,
for any election.
Yeah. Why it is true, Martin, that we are all advocating for peace. We shouldn't do things that will provoke the violence. You know, if the voter roll has to be claimed, you know, make a decision and claim the voter roll. Look, listen to what he just said. You have dead people on the voter roll.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what is it? If you claim that you have the voters on your side, what are you afraid of? Claim the damn voter roll and let's go to the ballot box. Martin, we're out of time, my man. Just
so you see,
I have to go to my other job.
So, Mr. Garley, you see, when we raise these issues, people think we are now objective. You listen to Mr. Joker. He was at the center of this whole democratic process at the National Elections Commission. He was a consultant. They work on this voter roll. First hand information. There's one that Martin call you for somebody to say, oh, Martin now objective. You see, when we raise these legitimate issues, Martin Colley is the president. He's now objective, provoke crisis in the country.
Be better
things they are indulging into.
What are you talking about? What the BS you talking about? Be better Rodney Chesney, the Godfather. Go ahead, Rodney.
So those things that can provoke crisis are the very things they are indulging into, Mr. Garley. It is unfortunate. It's disappointing. Since 2017, an instruction was given to NEC, clean this voter roll. There are dead bodies. There are duplication of names, and the voters' roll is not credible at all. So if CDC will win December and 2023 elections, what is the fear to clean this voters' roll? Look at what they were doing recently. They were recruiting new voters. And it should not be. It is a violation of the new election law to recruit new voters for special election. The only thing they should be doing right now, they should be replacing lost cards and damaged cards, and not recruiting new voters. But a lot of seditions again have been emptied into the voters' roll. And they will vote. They will vote, especially if the lawsuit against the NEC is trashed by the Supreme Court. If the lawsuit filed against National Elections Commission and the Supreme Court by the opposition political parties is trashed, those new voters who are already registered will vote. And that's a violation of the law, Mr. Garley.
Thank you, brother.
This is a special election. There should be no new registration of voters.
Our time
so
is
the
up.
The Supreme Court's integrity is on the line. Look at what they're doing to R.C. Jackson again and his family. Look at what they're doing to these people.
That's
you know, the Supreme Court. I just want to appreciate you, Mr. Garley. Let me just conclude on this note. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to appear. I hope next time you'll give me like 4 hours to expose some of these things, especially to our people in the diaspora who are not aware of these facts.
You know what?
Please, Mr. Garley, give
4 hours. Now, this is what you need to start doing if you want 4 hours. You know, you have a lot of followers, right? Reach out to them and tell them to make avenue for some type of donation to Bridge Radio Africa, because they're spending, you know, sitting in one spot for 4 hours. You know, it's not an easy task. And besides, we have to go other important things just to be here, you know?
I agree with you. I agree with you. So I'm going to get back to you very soon. We need like 4 hours. I need to say a lot about what's happening in Liberia and provide the facts, especially for Liberians who are not in country. They need to know what the facts are, because at the end of the day, it's about Liberia. So I want to say thank you, Mr. Garley, for the opportunity, for the invite. I'm really grateful. You know, I am humbled, and I want to say hats off for the great job you're doing at radio. You know, a lot of transformation have been taking place, and we appreciate your effort, your energy, your brilliance, and your resilience in pursuit of a new Liberia. God bless the people of Liberia. God bless Mama Liberia as we continue to struggle for a paradigm shift. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Martin KOLLIE. And folks, I'm afraid this whole time I have to be with you. God willing, we will be back tomorrow night with Quincy T.Y. Julie. They come in the section where this boy will come and make you laugh. So get your laughing gears ready as Quincy T.Y. Julie gets ready to entertain us tomorrow night from Liberia. Until then, I want to say a big thank you to all of you for taking enough time of the busy schedule just to form part of the production today. The big thanks to our team in Liberia at 104.1 Laugh FM, 95.1 Super FM, Super Television Channel 10. Channel 10, I want to say a big thank you to you as well. More sessions to follow in the coming days, and we appreciate you. All right. With that said, until we talk to you tomorrow night, as always, please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last, tough people do. The height of a man is never known until he rises, and there's no second chance to make that first impression. Don't see okra and swallow bone. When God bless you, as always, don't see that medicine. This has been yours truly. The medicine of the microphone, the golden voice of Liberia, ASHFORD the giant, that now you know me, Garley. Have a good night.
Kiamsito, voy a vivir rebelde. Hey, yeah, Hoka. Hey, yeah, Hoka. Hey, yeah, Hoka. Salimata Keita. De Samassa Record à New York. Dansez, dansez, mesdames, mesdemoiselles et messieurs, au rythme de la guitare rythmique de l'Okasa et Mbongo. Hey, hey, hey. Passe-moi tout à la guitare basse. Était bruit, était bruit, était bruit. Tout le monde était bruit. Bibi dance, bibi dance. Chamuto, chamuto, chamuto bakata. Chamuto, chamuto, chamuto bakuluta kuluta. Chamuto,